Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are here to do the Raw Recap, which took place on June 16th, 2025. And I have a great surprise for you. KP has returned and will be joining us for this Raw Recap. So, we have a few things to talk about, including some returns and some injuries on this episode of Raw. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. We kick off the show with Liv Morgan coming down to the ring with Dirty Dom. Liv says that the division runs through her and she's no longer asking for the respect. She's going to demand it. She also mentions that Nikki is at home where she belongs and that EO is full of you know what, saying that Nikki Bella paved their way to success, and that Liv actually paved her own way. She goes on to say that she is owed a title from EO, again proving that those tag titles on their waist and shoulders are just accessories and nothing more. Io comes down to the ring, not intimidated by Liv, and says that she doesn't hand down anything, that it's earned. So yeah, that was kind of this segment here. Um, Nothing too much else to say about that one. A little more on Liv later on in the evening. We then get our final Queen of the Ring Fatal Four Way, which features Ivy Nile, Raquel Rodriguez, Stephanie Vacquer, and the returning Asuka. Um, yeah, the winner of this match to face Alexa Bliss in the semifinals. But first and foremost, let's all give a warm welcome to Asuka, who has been gone for 13 months, but feels like 13 years. She looks great, not an ounce of ring rust. This was, at least to me, this outcome here was only ever going to be Oscar or Vaquer. And personally, myself, I couldn't decide who I would rather have seen. But getting to the ending, Raquel hits a Tejada bomb on Vaquer, which looked to be the end, but then is pulled out by Rhea, getting her revenge. This allows Oscar to come in and get the win over Raquel and advance to the semifinals to face Bliss on Friday. And let's put one tick on the counter for interference in this one. But yeah, overall, a pretty good match. And I think Oscar winning, I think that's a good call. Vicaire, I think will be just fine. And Raquel and Liv clearly not done with their rivalry here. We then go on to the next segment, which features the returning Goldberg. That one's tough to spit out. But yes, as the rumors we've heard for what feels like at least a year that Gunther was going to face Gunther at some point. Excuse me, Gunther was going to face Goldberg at one point. This segment proves that that is going to be the case at a main event. Um, but Gunther comes to the ring with his new World Heavyweight Champion once again and enters to a chorus of boos, making that title relevant once again. Gunther makes it clear that if he's going to be Seth's target, he'll make it easy. He's right here. Come down to the ring whenever you like. Yeah, Goldberg comes back. He says, pulls out all of the new tricks, tells Gunther that he's next. And yeah, main event July 12th. Yeah, for what it's worth, I guess this match, we've heard about it for so long, and now we're actually getting it. So uh, let's go ahead and get this done and over with, and then yeah, that'll be that. We then get into our next match, which is JD McDonough versus AJ Styles. Per usual, Dom does his best to get involved several times, but interference number two, by the way. AJ doesn't fall for any of this, and AJ actually does end up getting the win, getting the Styles clash and the win over JD. Fenn then comes in after the match and saves Dom. And then AJ actually does get hold of Dom's Intercontinental title, which makes the scene clear going forward that AJ is going after that IC title. And I believe that was made official. That will be taking place at Night of Champions. So, KP, first half of Raw, some goods, some bads. What are your thoughts on everything we've seen here?
Yeah, I mean, off the back of last week's Raw coming into this one here this week, I think it was a lot to live up to. So, everything that was really going to happen was, it was always going to be sort of like maybe in the shadow to begin with. I think the opening segment, with Liv and Io Sky, that was quite interesting because obviously we've seen Liv Morgan in the title picture, for like the whole of last year. Now that obviously being a women's tag team champion, she seems to sort of like not be getting into any tag team matches with Raquel recently, which is quite interesting. You could argue that maybe the Nikki Bella stuff could lead somewhere in that respect, but obviously that's very much a theory based game. But yeah, I think this was quite just strange, the fact that we had this confrontation between the two women, and it sort of seemingly just came out of nowhere. Liv just suddenly changing her attitude and be like, right, I'm just gonna just take my opportunities right here, right now. I'm not gonna ask anymore. I'm gonna go for it. But yeah, I thought that was a quite a unique way to kick things off, and it just felt like a random spot that they threw out of there from out of nowhere. Really, I'm not complaining as such about it, but yeah, it just seemed to take me off guard, perhaps. But yeah, it did what it needed to, I suppose, and possibly set up something that could have happened going forward. A bit more about Liv later on, as you mentioned. The match after that with Asuka returning, yeah, that was great. It was kind of cool to see her return with her old theme song as well, but not the one that she had after coming back at the Rumble those years ago with the Kana-based gimmick. But she seems to sort of like I don't know, like mix the two together now. She's almost got that like Kana style face paint still on her face, but going back to her old theme, yeah, is a nice little mashup there. So interesting to see what her character's going to be like and how she sort of like goes about her business. Definitely screaming face at the moment, which is great. But obviously, we'll see what happens going down the line. But yeah, her getting a win on a return is obviously something that I think makes a lot of sense. Raquel Rodriguez continuing the feud with Rhea Ripley, logical. Ivy, I don't think was ever really going to win with this one. Probably the least likely option. No offense to her. And then Stephanie Vicaire, obviously still very, very new to the main roster and seemingly has been pushed extremely, extremely well since being in WWE full stop. There's no harm in her not winning every single match, and she didn't get pinned as such, so no problems there either. But yeah, Asuka advancing to face Alexa Bliss should be a good match. I'm looking forward to that one taking place. Yeah, then we do sort of drop down in quality here. Having Goldberg in a World Heavyweight Championship picture in the big year of 2025 is quite the interesting scenario. Not something that I'm looking forward to, and I really, got all of your enthusiasm when you were talking about this a moment ago. And I share the same sentiments. But yeah, Saturday night's main event, the perfect setting for something that does not matter at all. So yeah, that'll be grand to just have it there, and no one will probably ever speak of it ever again. But I guess we'll see what happens. Goldberg gets his farewell, his swan song that he's wanted for such a long time. I guess that's fair play to him. But is he really going to win the world championship? You could argue probably not. But that's a whole conversation for another day. Just this particular matchup just doesn't interest me at all. And then AJ Styles and JD McDonough. Yeah, he's just got a talent of just doing a great job of putting people over. Like, I think that's just his like demeanor. That's what he's there for, and he never fails to to go out there and make somebody look good. And obviously, you don't need to make AJ Styles look good. He does that himself. But yeah, this is basically what this match was all about. Styles just continuing to build himself up to Dominic Mysterio and that Intercontinental Championship. We saw a little bit of a interaction post-match with Judgment Day, Finn Balor, JD, Dom, and Styles having the IC title in his clutches. You take it backstage, avoiding the attack and assault from JD. But yeah, this was fine. AJ Styles, proving that he's going to be the number one contender for the IC title, and we'll get that match coming up very, very soon. But yeah, not a bad start to Monday Night Raw. A little bit of ups, a little bit of downs.
Yeah, the nice thing about these Fatal Four Ways and Triple Threat, Money in the Bank, and King of the Ring, and all those qualifiers is that you can kind of have an out. Like in this instance, Stephanie Vicaire didn't have to take a pin. Usually, the person that's taking the pin is somewhat obvious. But in cases like this, we don't have to have Vicaire, who has a rocket ship attached to her right now. Don't have to worry about her taking a pin. So that's a nice bit. But yeah, go ahead and continue on with Raw and WWE photography team uploaded about half of the photos for this Raw. So a little dip in quality in the photos here, but we will move on and recap nonetheless. The next promo we see in the night features the returning Bailey, who made her return last week. She comes out and gives a promo and basically says that she does for the fans, not for the titles and the accolades. Very, babyface 101. But she then calls out Becky for taking her out, but says it didn't hurt her, it just made her stronger. And then Becky Lynch obviously then returns, makes her way down to the ring after being called out by Bailey in her Chicago Bears outfit. And Green Bay says it best: the Bears do still suck. Getting one win last year that meant absolutely nothing. We're not counting that. Becky joins the ring and says that she too used to fight for the people, but they stopped fighting for her. Becky asked Bailey if she remembers what gold feels like, which hasn't been that long, but it's been longer than I would like to admit. Bailey hasn't had a title in a little bit. But then, Bailey then asked Becky if she wants to have a match. Of course, Becky says no, not in Green Bay, but next week in Columbus. So we are getting that IC title match between Bailey and Becky. We're doing that rivalry next week on Raw. But yeah, this promo, nothing groundbreaking for sure. But I think the outcome here is getting Bailey and Becky once again. And then backstage, we see Bailey interact with, with Lyra, and says, nothing personal. I got to do what's best for me. And because it's seemingly, Lyra just got booted out of the picture. And Lyra did confirm that, no worries. She'll do what's best for her as well. So I like to think that we'll end up getting that triple threat sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, I do have a bit of injury update here now with Kairi Sane and Liv Morgan. I don't think the match lasted over a minute. I think it was around that. If it didn't go any longer, it wasn't much. Essentially, Liv Morgan lands on her shoulder, an arm area, and I think they did announce that she had dislocated shoulder. And from what I've seen, the 14 weeks, correct me if I'm wrong, 12 to 14 weeks, I think is what I saw reported. Unfortunately, I thought for sure this was a work, because Judgment Day, Liv Morgan, it checks out. But yeah, no, this one does appear to be legitimate. I'm not aware of any other dates she had movie wise or anything like that. So I think this one is accurate, or not a work, at least that I can see. And unfortunate for Kyrie, because another injury that she was involved in. I don't think this was any fault of her own. I think this is just one of those freak accidents. WWE, put these guys put their body on the line every week, and unfortunately, this is Sane gets the win by forfeit here. Then we get into the final men's King of the Ring Fatal 4-Way, which features Jey Uso, Rusev, Sheamus, and Bronson Reed. For me, the highlight of this match was Rusev and Sheamus. Give me that feud already. Make it a best of 7. Those two have so much chemistry, and the potential those two have in the ring, I think, is one of the best WWE has right now. But yeah, this is awesome chants from the crowd. Got this one quite a few. And I was really impressed with Rusev in this one. He just felt like he was continuing to be a force to be reckoned with. Getting to the ending, and we'll call this interference number 4, I believe. It's either 3 or 4, regardless, pretty much every match. So continuing that trend, WWE doing that. The ending has Jey Uso on the top ropes, looking like he's going to get the Uso splash and get the win. He's then pushed off by Braun Breaker. Sami Zayn then comes in to attempt to null the interference. Sami too is taken out by Braun. Penta then comes in to take out Braun. Bronson Reed then gets thrown out by LA Knight, who was cost his opportunity last week. It's it sounds like I'm making that up, and creative thinking. How do you want to finish this main event? Oh, let's just put anyone who wasn't involved in action tonight. Let's put them in that main event to interfere. It's getting ridiculous, unfortunately. But Jey Uso ended up being the win. The surprise factor, the way they announced that was strange. But yeah, Jey Uso getting his win here. Will go up against Cody, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I can't recall 100%. But then Seth gets down to the ring, and Cody comes in, and that's that. But yeah, get your thoughts on this one, KP, and your overall for this episode of Raw.
Yeah, going into obviously first and foremost Bayley and Becky segment. I think since Bayley's come on back, it's nice to see her back in WWE. Naturally speaking, her getting involved in this championship picture, I think it only does the Intercontinental title, a load of wonders. I think you compare the current mid titles for WWE, and you've got this is actually quite funny because it's literally roles reverse. We were talking about how well the US title was on SmackDown a number of months ago, and now it seems to be completely flipped on its head because you've got Zelina Vega and the Secret Hervers fighting forever, but now possibly going on to Zelina and Julia. But we took a long time to get there, so that's sort of like, it's coming back up a little bit. But then you've got literally this starting off, which is Bayley and Becky for the women's IC title, and that just screams, top tier. Like that's like world title picture, but we've got it on the mid card championship, and that just that's got me completely hooked in. Lyra's been killing it, obviously, as the women's IC champion, obviously losing it to Becky Lynch recently. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, and Lyra's still sniffing around the scene. So it could be quite interesting for that match next week on Raw to see how that plays out and what exactly is going to come out from that. But the chemistry from Bayley and Becky, I actually thought was maybe a little bit sort of up and down in parts. Thought it seemed a little bit awkward at times, but they, just like that, they were able to quickly turn things around and to get back on track. And yeah, I'm definitely keen. I'm seated and I'm ready to see how that one plays out next week, because I think it could go a couple of ways realistically. It's never nice to see an injury in wrestling. No matter who it is, whether you like them, dislike them, whatnot. Because that's a talent that's going to be out for a period of time when you ideally wish they wouldn't be out for that long. Liv Morgan, possibly suffering a dislocated shoulder here. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's just bad timing. Like you said, nothing to do with Kairi Sane as such. It's just it was a freak accident and just a bad landing. Really, that's all it is as such. So yeah, hopefully she'll have a speedy recovery. Fingers crossed. And not too sure what that means for going forward with Nikki Bella, because Nikki and Liv seem to have something started last week, probably going to build into Evolution. Will that happen now? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Very up in the air at the moment. So the landscape could be shifting in some other direction. There's another woman sort of in and around the Judgment Day scene. What if Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez team up? I don't know. That's just me spitballing, but it's an idea. But regardless, hope Liv has a speedy recovery and unlucky on the injury. The main event, the King of the Ring last men's first round qualifier. Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty clear who's going to win when Jey Uso was added at the back end of last week. Obviously, Rusev and Sheamus starting up their thing, and the absolute chaos that is Seth's faction at the moment with all the people that are involved in that in that situation. Yeah, Bronson was just never going to have a chance to win with everything that was going to go down. Obviously, costing LA Knight. He was obviously going to get payback from LA on Raw, and that seemed to be the case. So yeah, there was interference, like you said, for days on this one. Literally 3 people all trying to stop Bronson's / Bron Breakker, from helping each other out to win this one. But Jey Uso just right place at the right time, I guess, and he advances on to the next round to face Cody Rhodes, which is quite the interesting matchup for people who like that matchup. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, they've got that sort of background of teaming together, so that is actually quite interesting. When you've got a tag team that have done well together, been successful, and then they've got to go singles match to advance to the King of the Ring final. Yeah, we'll see what happens on SmackDown. But Jey Uso, right place at the right time. Rusev and Sheamus, you hit it nail on the head. Looking forward to their feud tremendously. It's going to be hard hitting and it's going to be fantastic. But we got a little bit of a taste from this one in this Fatal 4-Way. Yeah, Jey Uso, he advances. facing Cody Rhodes. This Raw was decent, I thought, to be honest. Up and down for sure. I think, with the injury, obviously, that's no fault of anybody's. And then a couple of segments that maybe weren't so great on my personal sort of radar. But yeah, coming off the back of last week, which was an all-timer Raw in my opinion, this was always going to be difficult to follow. Well, that was always going to be difficult to follow. So yeah, I give this one probably a 6.5 out of 10. It was decent, but I don't think anything really groundbreaking did take place. Yeah, highlights probably being Becky and Bayley getting into it, and the Women's Queen of the Ring qualifier with Asuka coming back and winning. So yeah, that would be my main takes from this one. What did you think, Nick? How did you feel about this Raw compared to last week as well? It's they can't all be that good, can they?
Yeah, living in a world where every Raw gave us something similar to last week would be a great world to live in, but unfortunately not quite realistic. I think that's safe to say. Yeah, overall, yeah, it felt like it's kind of a back to reality episode, if you will. Outside of Oscar returning and winning her Queen of the Ring qualifier, it didn't really feel like there was much else to take away from it. Bailey and Becky having announcing their title match, I would rather have that at Clash of Champions, but maybe we still will. So we'll wait and see how that works out next week. Um, yeah, and then Jey Uso winning. Surprisingly, getting the pin over Bronson Reed, I thought that was noteworthy. And just want to hit on the interference real quick. I have no issues with Seth's faction getting involved in everything. The interferences from Seth's faction makes sense. It's just how they operate, similar to the Judgment Day. But it nulls the effect of that faction if you're doing that in every other match. So if we want Seth's faction to be to reach its ultimate potential and have that effect of interference every time one of their members is involved, we need to get a name, by the way, for that faction. Um, we need to stop doing it in every single match. Otherwise, it's just business as usual and has no lasting effect on us. So noteworthy there. But yeah, overall, yeah, nothing groundbreaking. I'm not going to walk away and come back to this Raw after this week and really think much on it. So yeah, I give this one a 6 out of 10. That kind of feels generous even. Just yeah, nothing noteworthy is the overall takeaway. But with that, this has been a Raw recap, and this has been the push with Nick and KP. We do have KP back, so we are back to full force. So looking forward to that. It's great to have you back, KP. We have NXT tonight, so we'll be back with the NXT recap. And yeah, Friday we have some semifinals for King of the Ring on SmackDown. So looking forward to that. But until next time, this has been the push with Nick and KP. We'll see you then. Take care.